numbers 9 through 14. All right, so yesterday we went over what the standard normal distribution looks like. So please make me a nice big normal curve. And then you're going to need 3 colors. So sharing is caring, please. You're going to need 3 colors. And this is what's called a normal standard distribution. What's the number called again? Don't yell it out. That's in the middle of the bell curve. Don't yell it out. It is called the mean. Kathleen, how many standard deviations do we typically go to the right and to the left? 3. Very good. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Normal standard distribution gives us an approximation of how much is under this bell curve. So if you please make dotted lines after the first standard deviation to the left and to the right. Statisticians have agreed that to the left and to the right of a bell curve is 34% of the population, where this whole thing would represent 100%. So if this whole thing is 100%, one standard deviation above and below the mean represents about 68%. Where did I get 68 from? 34 and 34. So 68% of the population fall within the first standard deviation for a normal bell curve. That means it's not skewed left or skewed right, just normal. Audra, can you move your chair, babe, please? The second standard deviation, so if they're within the second standard deviation, is another 14%. And the last deviation, which is the third one, represents about 2%. So within the first standard deviation, we have about 68% of the population. Within the second standard deviation, if I add 34, 34, 14, and 14, that's 96%. And then, if I go to the third standard deviation, 96 plus 2 and 2, that's 100%. But we never ever say something happens at 100% of the time. So statisticians like to stay away from the number 100%. They never want to ever say always, because in case they're wrong, they want to be like, well, technically it was 99.9. You know what I mean? So that's why they call this last 99%. So if I add this 34 and 34, I get 68. Everybody with me? Say yes or no. If I add 34, 34, 14, 14, that gives me that 96. And then the last one is 99. So again, these are all approximations. Don't get crazy on me on the calculator talking about, you added wrong. I know. They're approximations. Let me show you what I mean with an example. I want to give you guys time to copy this down. Some of you guys are I asked you to do 3 highlighters and you're like, oh my god, freak out. All right, let's say that you're ready to buy your first car and you want to buy a hybrid. Because you're balling like that. Example 1, let's say that hybrid cars have a fuel efficiency with a mean of 54 miles per gallon. That's amazing. And a standard deviation of 6 miles per gallon. First thing we care about is the mean is 54 and the standard deviation is 6. So we're going to do what we did yesterday. We're going to draw our bell curve. Our mean is 54. With a standard deviation of 6. So what am I going to do with the 6? Add it, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to add 6. That's 60. That's 66. That's 72. Then I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So that's 48, 42, and 36. Now that they're giving me this pieces of information, I'll give you about 30 seconds. Make sure you're all caught up. All right, now I can ask you some questions based on this bell curve. First question I'm going to ask you, what's the percentage of cars getting less than 60 miles per gallon? What's the percentage of cars What is the percentage of cars getting less than 60 miles per gallon? Well, this is 54 miles per gallon. Here's 60 miles per gallon. So I want all of this, less than 60 miles per gallon. That's what we did yesterday. Nothing new so far. But now I get to introduce the percentages. Because now I know how much is in each one. I know how much is in this. I know how much is in this. And I know how much is in these. Y'all with me? Oh, you're scaring me. You guys okay? So they told me that I want to know the percentages of cars getting 60 or less. Well, here's 54, there's 60. Yeah? Yesterday, all I did was shade in the region. They told me to just shade it in. And now they're asking me what is the percentage of the shaded in. Well, I just got to look at the distribution that I just learned and put in the numbers. Because here's the mean. So what number is right here? 34. How about over here? 34. How about over here? 14. How about over here? So what am I going to do with all those numbers? Add them up. So we add all these numbers, and I see that approximately 84% of these hybrid cars get less than 60 miles per gallon. What do you guys think? Pretty doable? It's exactly what you did yesterday, except now you're inserting the numbers. All right, what if I asked you for letter B? What if I asked you, what's the percentage of cars getting more than 66. More than 66 miles per gallon. Find the 66 on your bell curve. Where's 66? Right here. More than 66 is going to be to the right. Just pink, right? So let's do that. How about I make this yellow so you can see that this is the yellow. And this is the pink region. What percentage is just that little part right there, you guys? 42? Just this pink part right here? Go back to the distribution, guys. What part is just this part right here? Which is 2, okay? Now let me teach you guys something. On your exam, you might see a 2%, you might see 2.1%, you might see 2.5%. Those are all right. Don't freak out. It could be 2 point anything. You just know that it's this region right here. Because remember we said statisticians are not ever going to be like, oh, 100%. Everybody with me? So on the test, I think I put 2.5. So why don't we start getting used to saying 2.5? So approximately 2.5% get more than 66 miles per gallon. Here's your doyo. What percent get less than 48 miles per gallon? 16.5%. Can you guys make sure everybody in your group gets that, please? 16.5%.
So Ms. Riad, when you want us to write?
It accounts for that missing percent, but only if you include the 2 in. Yeah, otherwise you don't need to. But let me tell you something, Cal. Like, let's say you're taking a test and you see 16, that's fine too. It's not like it's wrong. But if you put 15, we got a problem. I want you guys to start your homework, so please write me a summary, please.